Hello, and welcome to another episode in the series Impact, where we share stories of some inspirational people doing amazing things all over the world. And today we have another special guest with us, a lady who has been doing some amazing things, sharing some amazing stories, and inspiring others. She's now an author and a woman of God who is a praying woman. We have none other than Dahlia Allen. Hello, Dahlia, and welcome.
Hi, Craig. Hi. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on your program.
Yes, it is good to have you and to join us. I must start by saying congratulations on your new book out.
Thank you.
It's amazing work, and I look forward to getting my hands on a copy. I started reading the first chapter online, but I'm getting my hands on that copy because I know it will be blessing me, and I'll definitely share it with others. So, Dahlia, apart from you being an author and a woman of God, if somebody should ask you, who is Dahlia? Seeing you for the first time, who is Dahlia?
Well, what I would say to the person that Dahlia, she's a very passionate person, especially when it comes to God, that I'm very passionate about speaking about God goodness in my life because I've been through so much trials and stuff like that. So I would say that Dahlia is somebody who, if I get knocked down, I'm somebody who will get up and push forward, coming from Jamaica, what we know is once you fall, you just get up and you push forward.
Yeah. So you have had some amazing stories and some experiences that have changed your life. Mm-hmm. Who was Dahlia before this change in your life?
I would say that Dahlia was somebody before that was, very shy. And to me, I just believe like before that certain things I couldn't achieve. Like I didn't have the confidence, to push forward and to do stuff. I'm somebody who always like take a back seat and just watching other people, doing stuff. And I will like hoping, but then there is something in me, it's like telling me you can't, you can't do that. So it's like I'm somebody that was very shy, and stay in the background, I would say.
Now we want to get into, if you have watched this program before, we delve into the root of all of this, because whatever we are today depends on something in our past. It is something that has either happened or said. So let's see how far back you can go in your childhood. Tell us about the little child, Dahlia, as far back as I can remember.
Yes, I can remember the little child, Dahlia, a little child that is always under her mother, I would say, my mother wings. I wouldn't separate myself from my mother and my father and my brothers and sisters. I'm always like in that little circle, in that little gathering as a child growing up. I wouldn't like do certain things, I'm always indoors, like an indoors child, not somebody who is outside, like moving about and stuff like that. I would say I'm more indoors child growing up.
So you're a sheltered child, you'll think?
Yeah, very sheltered. Very sheltered.
Were you the youngest? Where did you fall in the family?
Oh, my family is such a big family, as I share, in the book, that I had 6 brothers and 7 sisters. I fall at number 12, I would say. I'm the 12th child, the 4th child from my mother and the 12th child from my father.
So what was it like growing up with all these brothers and sisters, trying to, I guess, be the top, putting yourself in that ladder and, making yourself known? Did you find yourself, from then having to step back because you have so many to jostle against?
Not really, because my older brothers and sisters, they were much older, and it's like they have their own family. They were much older than us. So it's like we were the younger set of children for my father. So So it's not to say like I would be, run jostling against the older ones because they were like have their own family. So it was just us as the small, the youngest set of children.
And you were, always with mom, and they didn't leave you out of their sight, and you were always indoors.
Always,
Why?
always,
Why is
yeah.
that? Why is that?
Sometimes I even ask myself the question, why was that? I was always present with my parents. I think my mother, like, she was my mother didn't have a lot of friends. I can remember she only have a lady that lived next door us as a friend. So it's like we didn't have a lot of aunties and uncles because by my mother's side, I only have two uncles. I don't
Okay.
have an aunt. By my father's side, it was just an uncle and an aunt, and then she passed away. So we didn't, although there is so many children, but I didn't have like a big family in the sense like aunties and uncles where I said, I'm going to go to spend holiday, like back home, children during school break,
Yes.
children
Yes.
will be going to spend time, with the aunties and the uncles. I didn't have that. So because of that, I'm always with my parents. And
So
then,
yeah, go ahead.
mhm,
Go ahead. Go
and
ahead.
then my uncle is by my mother's side. One, he was living in America, and the other one living in England. So there was no holiday to say we're gonna go spend with uncles and aunties.
Mm.
Yeah.
So what about the other children in the community? Did you not get time to play with these children? And
I used to have like a lot of children who'd come, to because our yard, it was like open up. It's one of them yard that anybody can come, any children, adult would come around. My brothers and my sisters, the older one, they have like lots of friends. So they would come by. But sometimes like the older brothers and sisters, they're so protective of us.
yeah.
So sorry about this, whenever time like, the friends would come by, they make sure that we are not in because they were more older than
Okay.
us. So they would say to us, go and find your own space. This is
Mhm.
like big people conversation. Yeah.
So from then you were, always in the, you have to give the bigger one the space. So you're,
Yeah.
or the people around, they come to your house, but you're not ever going to their house because you're the space that you come to.
Mhm.
So when you went to school, how was that?
School, primary school. It was good. Primary school. I had friends, lots of friends, from primary school, then move on to secondary school, have lots of friends. So school was fun. It was fun. Yeah.
So how did that shy girl deal with being in school? Did you just put your head down and work, or did you had struggles? Did you have teachers who pushed you?
Yeah, especially at secondary school, I had friends, two friends. Like we were very, very close because I'm not somebody, coming, from underneath my mother's wings. Never see my mother with a lot of friends. So sometimes it's like for me, it's like sometimes I don't know how to
Mhm.
make friends because that's something, I never taught because I only see my mother with one lady friend. So
Mm.
for me now at school, it was a bit difficult at first, but then, I make friends with two other students. And that was it really for me. I didn't broaden it where I have loads of friends and stuff like that. So I just stay in that small, circle with just two friends. And even up until now, we are still friends.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I realize that you talk about your mom a lot and the fact that she had only one friend. She was only, she was always around, and that is something that must have impacted you. So you see her as being not having lots of friends. So you grow up
Mhm.
thinking that
Yeah.
is the way forward.
Yeah, that's it. That's what happened, happens to me. I think that's the way forward.
Mm.
Even my other sisters, that's the same thing that happened. to them as well, thinking this is how life should be. Don't open up, to a lot of people. Just stick into a small circle. Yeah.
So how has that impacted your relationship with your friends and people in general in the work world? And as you grow up and you look back and to seeing, because your mother will have that influence on you because of your trying to emulate, or you're trying to do the things that that's the only thing you know how you've seen. That's your teacher.
Yeah, yeah.
So how did that impact or make a difference to you growing up?
I think growing up, especially like in the workplace, I have to come to the realization that this can't be life. This is not how it's supposed to be. So I have to try and break away from it, but not fast, but slowly, break myself away from that, shy person, not wanting to be around a lot of people. And especially at my workplace, because now you're in an environment where there are so many people. So I have to try, to break away slowly from how I was growing up as a child.
And this is one of the reasons I do this program, because it always comes back to realizing that as adults, as parents, as teachers, we, without saying it, our action, our lifestyle does have an influence on our children and people looking on.
Yeah.
Because I've spoken to so many different people who are doing amazing things in the world, but they always attribute some of their lifestyle to what they see their parents, and they think that was normal. Was there anything else that from your mom that you think you have picked up apart from just being shy and to yourself and not having many friends? Was there anything else that you picked up from her?
I think what I picked up from her as well: never argue. Never argue. I've never seen my mother arguing with anyone. It's like, if something happens, especially like, say my father, said something and my mother don't like it, all she would say, I leave it to God. She would never argue, and I think with me, as an adult now, I don't know how to, this might sound funny, but I just don't know how to, quarrel with somebody. I don't know how to argue with somebody. For example, if somebody done me something wrong, and to develop that, anger and want to argue and fight. And I just don't know how to do it because I never see my mother do anything like that.
And I guess you would say you leave it to God, just like your mom would do.
Yeah, that's it. I would pray, I would cry, because that's something my mother would do. She's very emotional. Sometimes, if my father said something and, she don't like it, she will kind of feel a little bit emotional instead of standing up. So because of that, I don't know, maybe now, because I'm trying to break away from that I will. But when I said stand up, I don't mean like argue and, curse and behave badly, because that was something I never seen, inside my home growing up as a child where my mother is concerned.
Did you get bullied at school?
No.
No. So you were lucky not to have children pick on you? Because if they did, you would just cry away and you should.
That's it, because I wouldn't know how to defend myself. So because of that, I try to be in my little circle. Yeah.
So again, it's the impact that just by doing things you had that from your mom. What about your dad?
Well, my father, he wasn't my father, he loves to talk. He talks a lot, but he wasn't the type of person as well to go and make fuss with somebody.
Yeah.
If something happens, he will come home and, he will talk about it. That person said that and that person. But to say he's going to go and, fight with that person, that, no, that won't happen. But he will, talk about it. He's not like my mother, where my mother will say, God will take care of
Yeah.
it. But my father, he will talk about it and say, oh, that person said this and that person said that. But to, get into a state where he's gonna get angry, like he wanna fight. I never see my father either like that.
When did you realize that life can't be like this? At what point did it switch to like, hold on, my mom was like this. I don't have to be like this.
I think it was when I came to this country, when I came to England, and open up now to so many things, and seeing different ways of how people live. And that's when I realized that no, I can't, carry on. I remember when I went to college for the first time in this country, and the headmaster, he looked at me and he said, "You're from a good Christian home, isn't it?" And I said, "Why did you say that?" He said, "Oh, because I'm looking at you and there is something different. There is something, there is just something different. And that is telling me that you've grown up into a Christian home."
Uh, Again, yeah, just by looking at you, by your demeanor,
Yeah,
by your behavior.
yeah,
So before I go back into the work world, I want you to think about your school days. So you went to primary school. You had an okay primary
yeah.
time, and you went to secondary school. How different was that, knowing that you're a lot teenage years and all the everybody else maybe having something to shout about, but you're still quiet and reserved?
Yeah, I think at secondary school, it was much different from primary school, because now at secondary school, you have to like go on school trips, and you meet a lot of children from different school. So that was like an environment that is more open up to me. And I talk to people, other students, and try to make friends as well. So that was the difference, because with primary school, we are always at primary school. But secondary school now, lots of traveling and sports day and stuff like that, where I would meet different students from different school. So I will try to build a conversation. It was hard. It was hard, coming from a home that parents are so quiet, and I adjust myself like that to, adapt that kind of a quietness. And now, to open up and talk to other students, it was difficult. It was difficult, but but gradually I built up the courage.
Yeah, because you had to. Did teachers pick up on this reserved child and saying, what is happening? Get out of your shell. How did teachers deal
Yeah,
with
I
it?
think at secondary school, my science teacher,
Mm,
I think he realized what was happening, and he said, "I'm going to make you prefect of the class."
mm,
So now I have to
talk.
communicate. I have to talk,
Mm.
because now I'm the prefect of the class. So yeah, so
But
yeah,
do you think he did that because you were just shy and he wants to bring that out of you, or was it
yeah.
because
I
you?
believe that was the reason why he. And then he could see that I'm such a kind and caring student as well. But there was something that need to pull out of me.
Mhm.
So I think that was the reason why he made me like, head of the class. So I could, communicate more instead of just not saying anything much. Because when like you're a prefect, now you need to talk to other students and stuff like that. Yeah.
So again, the impact of the skill of teachers to pick
Mhm.
up on things, because a lot of people don't realize that teachers don't just teach; they
Yeah.
they pick up on what is not being said, and by your
Mhm.
action and by your deeds, I think you have to go, what is happening, why this child is so reserved, how can I help them to be a
Yeah.
leader and bring that out. So teachers will pick up
Mhm.
on those things. So you
Yeah.
you you had a caring families, and your brothers were there, and you
Mhm.
were in your community, you were the place to be, and the one. So nobody you wouldn't lose friends. People will want to be a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In the community.
in the community. So
Yeah.
now you have moved to a country on your own, and you're having to survive and realizing I can't stay by myself. I have to
Mhm.
get out of my shell. How hard was that, and what did you do to start breaking free?
It wasn't when I came to this country. It was a bit challenging in the sense that because I didn't know anyone apart from my uncle.
Mm,
And then a friend of mine from Jamaica, he said to me, he have a sister that is living in England. And he gave me the contact details and I contact her. And I start now, going to her home and she have a lot of children. And then from there, I start to, build up the courage to talk,
mm,
and ask question because this is a strange country and I
yeah.
need to know stuff. So she was the first person who got me a nice little job in this country. And then like in the workplace now I have to talk. I have to talk. So the shy person coming from Jamaica have to gradually build in to open up and start talking to people. There's no more closed mouth, but just
Mhm.
open mouth because I have to ask question now to
Yeah.
survive into this country. Yeah.
Now, so why make that big jump? How did that big jump from being under my mom's wings and sheltered and having everything taken care of to being in a world where there's no one and you're on your own? How did that come about? Why?
I think for me, like I did it's something that I talk to myself that I need to do this. I need to get out of this, shell that this circle that I place myself in.
Mm.
It was challenging, because to make such big change, I'm somebody who don't deal well with changes as well, so to make such a big change, because even like my first time attending church in this country, it was very challenging as well, because seeing all the people and I don't know if I open my mouth to say something, what they're gonna say to me as well. So there was so much like going on with me, but by God's grace, I pray and I ask God to help me to move away from this shy person and this person that was under her mother wings and, to push forward, to be open up as well. So I think, this is where God comes in. He helped me to deal with that situation that as a child growing up and for me to be more open.
So no doubt, faith has been, an
Mhm.
integral part of your growing up. And
Yeah.
you always
Mhm.
hear your mom saying, "Leave it to God." Um,
Yeah.
and were you in church back then as a young child, teenager? Were you active in
Yeah.
church, and how was?
I grew up in the Sunday Church of God because my parents they were Church of God,
Yeah.
and at the age of 16, I switched over to the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Um, I wasn't that active in church. I wasn't that because I didn't stay a long time in church back in Jamaica in the Adventist church because at the age of 16, then I think 4 years later, I came to this country.
Okay. So you
Yeah.
came to this country and you were trying to find your feet and you were just, trying to find your relationship and build that relationship with God.
Yeah.
When did you decide at what point did this become real and you become that person that holding on to your faith and religion? When did that become the thing that start keeping you going?
I think when I rebaptized in 2008 in this country. I think, yeah.
And was there something that made you make up your mind to now this is the time I'm going to take this religion and Christianity serious?
Mhm. Yeah, I think what happened because then I was getting sick. The sickness started. one after the next. And I see how God helped me, helped me throughout my illness. And that's when I decided that, I have to change. I have to do things differently. I have to hold on to God.
Your book is called Resilience. And in that, there's a lots of story of how God has come through for you to have such a strong faith and believing in Him. Can you share, any examples of how reasons why this is so important?
I think the reason why this is so important, I'm just going to share just a short testimony that is also in the book. I remember it was during the summer, and I was standing at the bus stop, and I just felt a headache, and I felt dizzy, like I'm gonna fall. And I'm like, God, please help me, don't let me fall. And then eventually, I get back to my normal self. I was on my way to work, and I said, I'm not going back home. I'm going straight to work. And when I reached work, I was there for a couple hours working and, doing what I'm supposed to do. And then I felt the pain. I felt it again. But this time, it's like I'm blocking out, I'm fainting. And I start to shout, please, can somebody help me? And I remember my workmates, they came in and they called the consultant in the hematology department, and he came and he examined me and he said, you need to get down to accident and emergency. I said, oh my God, what's happening? What is happening? He said, I don't really know, but you need to get down to accident and emergency. I went to accident and emergency. The head, the pain in the back of my head, it was so bad. And the consultant, he came and they, do a lot of tests and stuff. And he said, we are suspecting meningitis. And I'm like, oh my God, this was like, what is this? And he said, because of the pain and where you're having it, it could be an infection around the brain or something like that, he was saying. And if you're still having the pain, we're going to have to do the lumbar puncture. And a couple hours, the pain, it was still there right until the next morning. And when he came to see me in the early hours of the morning, he said to me, how are you feeling? And I said, I'm still having the pain. And he said, we're going to have to do a lumbar puncture. And I'm like, a what? A lumbar puncture, he said. And I said, okay, not knowing the full extent of what this is all about, but he did explain, the nurse explained to me, what is it? And, they put me into like a fetus position and they withdraw the fluid from around my brain, I believe, and they send it off to the lab to get it checked. But when the result came back, there was no meningitis, praise be to God for that. And I developed a back pain from the lumbar puncture.
Yeah.
Just imagine, I went in the hospital for a headache and I developed back pain. And I was there for a few days until the back pain settled. So they said, okay, it's time for you to go home and, just rest, recuperate and rest and stuff like that. And 2 days after I reached home, I believe it was 2 days, I started feeling a terrible headache. I never felt such pain in my head. It's like my head I couldn't hold it up like how I'm doing it. I have to lean it, my neck and my head. And I'm screaming. My uncle, he wasn't home. And I'm screaming and I'm saying, God, what is happening to me? My head is killing me. And I remember I picked up the phone and I called my GP surgery and they said to me, hang up the phone and call, the emergency team, the ambulance. And I was in so much pain. I was just screaming, God, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. Please help me. And I pick up the phone, the amount of pain that I was in. I don't even know how I reached to the landline to no, I was, because I speak to my GP, so I did have the phone. I have the phone. And I called the emergency, the ambulance, and they said they're on the way coming. And I was in so much discomfort. And I just screaming, oh God, I don't want to die. please, Lord, I don't want to die. When the ambulance crew arrived, they rang the bell. I could not move. I could not move. And I said, God, please help me, and it felt as if the hands of God just wrapped around me and moved me slowly towards the window. And I was able to push the window up. And I shout to the ambulance crew, and I said to them with tears, I can't make it downstairs. I can't make it. I'm gonna throw the key downstairs, and please, because I'm living on the third floor. There's no lift, stairs, and everything. And I said I can't, and I threw the key downstairs to the ambulance crew, and they were able. That's how they were able to get into the house. And when they came up into my flat, I was lying flat on my back, because of the pain, the discomfort that I was in. I was lying flat on my back, and I was just screaming for the discomfort that I'm experiencing. And they checked me and they said, we need to get you to the hospital urgently. I said, what is wrong with me? They said, we are not sure, but we need to get you to the hospital. And they helped me downstairs into the ambulance and put me flat to lie on my back until I reached the hospital. And when I reached the hospital, I was in so much pain. I was just screaming, my head, somebody please help me. They gave me painkillers, but I was just screaming, and said, God, please, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. Because at that moment, it felt as if I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And I think maybe half an hour later or so, the doctor, he called me, and I slowly made my way towards him, and he put me to lie on my back flat because I wasn't aware of what is happening to me. And then they start giving me drip. They start pumping, the saline, pumping the drip inside my body. And he said to me, it seems as if you're suffering from low pressure headache.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is that? And he said, because the fluid, withdrawn from around the brain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And because I wasn't drinking a lot of water, I didn't know I was supposed to drink a lot of water, and that's what was happening to me. So they have to pump a lot of, fluid inside me, inside my body to get, because I could have died. I could have died, and because of that, I hold on to God because I had experienced something that was so critical that I could have died. I could have been paralyzed because no one wasn't home with me at the time when, all of this was going on. But I give God thanks that despite my uncle wasn't there, the angels of God were inside, because when the ambulance crew arrived, I couldn't even move. But I felt the hands of God slowly pushing me towards the window. So, because of that, I just hold on to God, knowing that there's nothing impossible that God cannot do.
And you have in your book more than one testimonies of how through your health issues, you have no other choice, and there's no way you could not trust God because of how He has brought you through the health. But not only did you have to, the book is called Resilience for a purpose because you have been a resilient woman because you have gone through so many things, and you talk about disappointment in love. Now, do you think you're growing up as a shy child, your shelteredness, but affected or impacted your relationship, or you finding love, or you having those relationships?
I think growing up as a child and see how my mother deals with stuff in a relationship that impacted me so badly because, as I refer back to the book, when I was in the relationship, there were so many things that was, thrown at me. And it's like, I didn't know how to defend myself. I just didn't know how, to retaliate back. And things were just throwing at me. Abuse were just coming my way. And, because I never see my mother retaliate when my father will say or do something that was inappropriate. So for me now, in a relationship, I believe this is how it should be. Don't fight back. Don't say anything. Just take whatever comes my way. And because of that, I ended up into something that was unhealthy, for me. And I thought that was love. I thought that was love because that's what I see happen, between my mother and my father. She never tried, if my father said something, she never said, okay, that's it.
Yeah.
And you understand? So because of that now, that has impacted on me so badly and I make wrong choices because of that.
So you're saying that then that it is important as parents to not only just live the life, but to have those conversations with your children about relationship.
Yeah.
Did you have the opportunity to ask questions, or when you were curious about things, or was it just that you see it and you think this is it?
That's it. There was no opportunity because our parents, like, maybe that's how they were growing up. Their parents didn't inform them of certain things. So now it's like the same thing happened to us. Certain things mother won't say, certain things they ask, there's no answer. So I've grown up believing that certain question, don't ask, just leave it.
And then you didn't have a lot of friends to hear them talk about. You didn't have groups that you hear all sort of things happening. So, which in itself could be a good thing because you're not influenced by the things of the world. But then you wouldn't have anybody to bounce things from.
Yeah.
And it's important to have that aspect. So. Again, it is showing that the relationships you see around when you were growing up, because you were only seeing your parents' relationship.
That's
You weren't seeing others. So you were thinking, I am going to be like my mom, and whoever I'm falling in love with should be like my dad.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what was going on, Yeah.
And then when you realize it, when did you realize that, this is not the way? What was it that got you to the point of saying, no, this is not it in a relationship?
I think because of how I was feeling, I was like empty. It's like there was a darkness that surrounded me, and I felt as if I'm suffocating. Yeah, and I'm thinking, no, this can't be, this can't be what God wants for me. It can't be. And I remember I'm praying and I'm saying, God, I'm suffocating. I'm at a full stop. All I'm getting is just like abuse, abuse on top of abuse. And I just don't know how to pull, like, the willpower not there. So God, you have to show me what you want for me, what is best for me.
Yeah. And when you look back at it, do you think, just thinking back with your parents, do you think your mom felt the same way, or was it just not? Did you think did you ever think or have that conversation with her now that you're older to say, did you ever?
I think like it was after my father died.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember when I traveled, to Jamaica for my father's funeral, and the day of his funeral, I remember we were on the veranda, and my younger sister said to her to pray before we went down to the funeral home, because we were escorting the body from the funeral home to the church. And my sister said to her, pray before we move out. And she started crying. My mother started crying, and in her prayer, she said, God, I've endured so much. I've, suffered. She said, I've suffered so much.
Oh.
And because she takes in everything that my father, thrown at her. And now he's dead. She felt as if the chain been broken.
Oh.
And that was her prayer.
Mm.
That was, her prayer that the chain is now broken. I am free. And we were very surprised that we are like, but here are we grieving, for our father. And this is the prayer. Why are you praying this type of prayer? So it was her way of
Yeah.
saying to us that she's free.
Mm.
She is free because my mother don't talk. She don't talk a lot. If she come here and I said to her, like, if she come by your house and you said to her, good afternoon, and she said, good afternoon.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. If she's there for the next 5 hours and you don't say anything to her, that's it.
Wow.
Yeah, she don't talk much. She's so quiet, and let me go back to the prayer. And
Mm.
she was saying in her, she's free. She's free, from the chain. That chain is broken and she's free. And that's when we realized that deep inside, growing up as a child, she 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 was broken, I would say,
Mm.
inside. She was broken inside, but then she held it together,
Yeah.
maybe for her children, because sometimes, that's why now I will do anything for my mother, because sometimes I'll say to my sister that, she's good, because sometimes my father can be very miserable. She's good in the sense that, she didn't leave us and
Yeah.
said, gonna go back to where she's from, because she's not from where her husband is from. She's from a different place.
Yes.
And she just stayed there, and look after her children. But when my father died, that's when she opened up, open to say that she's free.
Yeah.
She what she meant by being free, only she alone know what she's talking about, that the chain is now broken. Yeah.
So you that's a real testimony to see, and no doubt you had, parents back in those days would have, because moms were stay at home mom looking after the family, the man going out
Yeah.
to provide for the family, so they come home, they want everything, and for the sake of the children they would suffer and be bonded just for the love of their children. And that could be a way of keeping you sheltered from all the things that you could have seen,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
things that could have happened, and you grew up thinking this was the norm, and then
Mm.
you start
Yeah.
finding that your relationship is going the wrong way, because you're trying to go thinking and going back as to what you saw in
Mhm.
your parents. That's deep. That's deep.
Mhm.
So you were able to see that freedom for your parents.
Mhm.
You know, that at that point did you start to think differently about life in terms of how you view
Live.
life and live?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Because now for me, I would say nobody can't hurt me
Mm.
again, because I'm not going to give that person the opportunity to hurt me. Because now, I'm being empowered. I'm much stronger. I'm not that child, that being protected under her mother's wings. Now I know more, I'm open to more. So I won't make the same mistake, as before. So nobody won't hurt me again, because I see myself, valued by God. And, I value myself. So because of that, I always said to myself, I'm wonderfully and fearfully
Yeah.
created in God's image. So nobody can hurt me again. And I won't give anybody that opportunity to hurt me again.
Would that mean also that how do you balance that with being defensive to making
Mhm.
sure no one is going to hurt you? Because sometimes we can go so far to protect ourselves that we don't
Mhm.
give people a chance. How do you balance that?
I think the way how I deal with it, I pray and I say, God, you help me. Because sometimes like we can make the wrong choices. Although now I think that I'm strong, I've been empowered, but then I still can make bad choices because, we're living in a world that there's so much sin.
Yeah.
So, so because of that, I say, God, you help me, you direct me, because I'm always repeating the scripture where it said, in all thy ways, lean not on thine own understanding, but in all thy ways acknowledge God. So that's what I do now. I put God first. I say, God, you show me how to balance things, how to do things. I don't do things on my own as before. So that's how I do it now.
Yeah, that's that's it. You want to make sure that you have that power, you're empowered, but you
Mhm.
can't do anything without God. So
Yeah.
you had that relationship hurt, you had that physical pain of hurt, and then
Mhm.
you also had the hurt of bereavement.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
dad passing away, how did that play on you?
Losing my father, that was like one of the darkest moment in my life. Because I remember, I called my father and I said to him that I'm coming home in, say, 2 weeks' time to see him.
Mm.
And he said to me, yes, my child, I see you when you get here. And then to receive a phone call to say that he died sudden, that was something, it, it was something that I wasn't prepared for. That wasn't, to me, that wasn't in the plan. Although we know that our parents gonna die, we're gonna die one day, but that wasn't a part
Of
of
the plan.
that plan. Yeah, to lose my father in that way, you know, that was that was painful. That was my flesh, as I said, my flesh. I didn't know that my flesh could hurt
Mm.
so much because I feel as if I haven't received that closure, because I said to him, I'm coming.
Yeah.
How, because I remember the day at his funeral, when they opened the casket, and I was just screaming at that moment. I wish my father could just get up and look at me, even if he get up and look at me and lie back, but that moment I was hoping. I know
Mhm.
he's dead. I know he can't hear. I know. But that moment I was hoping that if he could just see that I fulfill my promise and I'm standing here with him,
Mhm.
right beside him. I just want him to open his eyes. I just want him to look at me and said, my child, you are here. That losing my father is one of the most painful.
I guess I have spoken a lot to friends and family, and when I realize when I talk a lot and I always have this conversation about death and how do you prepare for it, and I know my sisters and friends, ladies, they never get past the death.
Mm-hmm.
But when I speak to my friends, male friends, they will have the conversation past it and how they would deal with it, what are this next step they would take, it, so mentally prepare themselves. But everybody deals with that in a different
Definitely.
way. And I lost my father a couple of years ago, but it wasn't sudden. And I guess with a son, that when you're preparing to go and see
Mm-hmm.
your father,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
can take a toll on him. But my dad was, suffered from dementia for 5 years. We know he was gradually going. Um, how has that, or has it made you more prepared for another eventuality of death?
Mm. Will I ever be prepared?
Mhm.
I don't know if that is something that we are prepared for. I
Mhm.
don't know. Because losing my father, that it was so bad. It was so horrible. So but I see how God has given me the strength. So if something else like that happens again, maybe I would, dealt with it in a different way. Maybe it wouldn't hit me so hard, because in my family, like, some people who the loved ones, they have the aunties
Yeah.
died, the uncles, but in my family, that doesn't happen that way. It's like people are living on, I would say, so losing my father, because when my mother died, and then to when my father died, it's like a gap,
Long.
long, yeah. So to lose my father like that, it was a shock to the system, because in my family, as I said, that doesn't,
You haven't experienced those
yeah,
with
yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
family members. Yeah. And I
yeah.
mean, recently I've been, seeing on social media and hearing, in the past 2 years, people I used to go to school with, a lot of them, you see them dying. I'm like, wow, before you think of it as being older, but we have to be prepared for it. But, as we come
Yeah.
to the close to that end of this conversation here, on impact, you have suffered a lot, you have gone through a lot, but
Mhm.
despite of all that, you have been resilient, and you have now fulfilled a dream of being an author. You have
Mhm.
turned your tragedy into a stories, into a book where you can share your experience and tell others. And you also have a YouTube channel that you're sharing God and the gospel on. Before I go to the YouTube channel, tell us, how did this book come about?
Um, as I said, I'm referring back to the book. Was writing a book a part of God's plan? um, this book, as you know, I doing the online revival and campaigns and
Yes.
stuff like that. And I remember I was speaking to a pastor, and I was telling him my story. And he said, like, sharing the testimonies of, my life and the journey. And he said to me, why don't you put it in a book? And I'm like, a book? A book? Me writing a book? And he said, why not? I said, writing a book. I said, okay, if God want me to write the book, then he will. He will tell me when the time is right, and he will put the person there, and I will know when the time is right. And I remember Sister Angeline Edwards, who is a book coach, she coached me to write the book. And one day I was home, and she sent me, a poster. She's recruiting clients to write a book. And it's like the Holy Spirit just impressed upon me, Dahlia, it's your turn to write the book, to share your testimony with others, to encourage others. And I see, like, during COVID as well, with so many people, especially in our church, they are broken, they are hurting, and they're drifting away from God. And I said to myself, God has done so much for me. And if I can help even one person to hold on to God, I'm going to write this book. Even if I can help one person to hold on to God, I'm going to write this book.
And how long did it take you to write this book?
It was supposed to be 3 months, but it takes a little bit longer than 3 months, because in between I had the Keeping Hope Alive revival online, and the global prayer vigil for the nation. So I did have to stop in between, and then I went back to the books. I would say take a little bit less than a year.
And would you, after seeing it become realization, it's now out, and people are buying it, what are your aims for this book?
My aim for this book is to draw people closer to God. That's the purpose of this book. When people read through, the testimonies and stuff like that, is to draw them closer to Jesus Christ.
And you have done a lot of online ministry, and you have a YouTube channel. So so you're using the book with your own testimony, but you're sharing God online. Now, where can people get this book to buy?
Can I hold the book up as well?
Yes, sure.
Okay. Well, Resilient is out now, and it's on Amazon. It's on Amazon, so that's where they can get this book to buy. And my prayer that everyone that read this book, that it will draw them closer to Jesus Christ, and that they will put their trust wholeheartedly in God.
So there you go. You go on Amazon and you can get this book. It's Resilience, Overcoming Life's Turbulences and Rising Triumphantly by Dahlia Allen. And it's a good read. As I said, I started reading it, and you would hear so many more of Dahlia's testimony and sharing how God has come through for her and how she have used her struggles to make sure she stand on the side of God. Tell us about your YouTube channel.
My YouTube channel, I share a lot of testimonies, my own testimonies, other people's testimonies as well, and a lot of encouraging devotion to help. As I said, my focus is just to help someone to draw closer to Jesus Christ. God is real. He is real. I see how he moves in my life, and I know that he will do the same for you all. So that's what my YouTube channel is all about, is to encourage.
And what's the name of the channel?
Finding Hope in Christ.
Finding Hope in Christ, and you'll see Dahlia. You can't miss it, Dahlia Allen, and you'll see her there. And I no doubt, now that you have your book out, you'll be going on some book signing tours and so forth. Do you have dates or places?
Not yet. Not as yet. It's early days. Not as yet. So by God's grace, it will come soon.
And the website is coming soon too?
The website is coming soon.
But we can find you on Facebook.
Yeah.
And YouTube. Anywhere else? Mm-hmm. Anywhere else we can?
I think I have a TikTok account. I have the book on TikTok as well.
So you're getting used to the technology around to promote that. So no doubt we'll see more of Dahlia, and I'm sure if anybody wants to get you to come and share your testimony or talk to them in their groups or in their churches, as you're available.
Yeah, I'm available.
So they can always get to you. And if you contact me, then I can always share the information to get in touch with Dahlia. Now, Dahlia, we are almost at the end of this conversation, and you have shared a lot with us. From all of this, what is the one message you would want to leave with anybody who might be going through a similar situation, whether it's broken relationship, thinking that they have to stay in these relationships because of the pain or of the children that they have, or, probably going through health challenges? What is your words of encouragement?
My words of encouragement that God loves us. He loves us with an everlasting love. So we don't have to stay into something that is unhealthy, something that is toxic, not good for us, because God loves us so much. And despite the sickness, whatever you're going through, that even if the sickness doesn't heal, pray and ask God for peace of mind, because that is very important as well, is to have peace of mind to take you through your trials, whatever you're facing in your life. And keep trusting, keep believing, and have hope. Have hope, because that's something I learn each day, is to have hope and trust in God. That God is able, and with God all things are possible. So keep holding on. Keep hope alive.
Keep hope alive
in Jesus Christ. That's all I can say.
Indeed, keep hope alive.
Alive.
Keep hope,
Yeah.
hope alive.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure, spending time and learning about your struggles and how, and it brings out the key thing that I always do get it from these impact conversation is the fact that people are influenced by your living,
Mhm.
by your words, by your action, by your deeds. And you have experienced that, and no doubt you're living that out. So you have, and dedicated your life to make sure whatever you do, you are going to show Jesus in all your work.
Yeah.
And I thank you very much for spending the time to share with us. I wish you all the best with your new book. And I'm sure number 2 will be out soon because you have so much more to share. You have so much more to share. So I'm sure you're planning on that. And if it's the Lord will it will be done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
it will by God's grace.
by God's grace.
Yeah.
So again, thank you
And
very much. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say something. It just came to my mind just now that, once you're in a relationship, sometimes we tend to keep it in and don't want to share it with anybody. That's something that happens to me. I wouldn't say anything to anybody,
Mm.
Because of my childhood growing up,
Yeah.
not able. Yeah. So please don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Find somebody, pray and ask God to show you somebody and share it with somebody.
So now you're a different person,
Yeah.
and you have it when you have your children, you're going to grow them up
Yeah.
differently because you know that there's a different way. So that's a very good advice, and I sure that you will continue to share with your experience with others so that they don't have another experience like yours.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. So there you have it. It's impact where life you're living impact others and impact what we do and how we live. So live right, do right. Until next time, it's bye from me and see you in the next episode. Bye.